What's going on, ladies and Larrys? Welcome back. And if you're new here, hey guys, welcome. Appreciate you being here. So what I want to do in this video and in a series of videos after this is I want to kind of break down gear in a different light and break it down in my way. So this video isn't a panning video or how to pan, and it's not a video of me describing what I would consider the best pan out of 4 or 5 different pans. This video is really going to be more of a tips and tricks video, but also I want to kind of give some factual things. And if you see like pro tip or tip up here in the screen anywhere, that's a tidbit that I've picked up over my prospecting journey that some of you guys might find helpful or maybe not. But I want to kind of do this in a 0 to hero, which meaning like 0 being like you're brand new to prospecting, to hero being like it's more advanced panning and prospecting. So starting with someone who's brand new to panning and prospecting, or someone who maybe only pans and prospects once or twice a year on a family camping trip or something like that. I kind of want to bring it to that level, to that start, and then work our way through the panning pans, right? Okay. And go to like more intermediate to more advanced panning. Okay. So starting there, okay, we're going to start, and I'm going to preface this video first by saying that what I call a traditional pan is a traditional modern day round gold pan with riffles. I know steel pans back in the day are traditional, but those to me are more nostalgic pieces. A typical modern day gold pan is round with riffles in it, okay? And that's a traditional pan to me. There are other pans that are different looking. They're more exotic. There's hex pans, gold claws, square pans, things like that. Traditional pan to me is just your round basic gold pan. All right, guys? So the first thing I want to talk about is, and this is more geared for the newer guys. A lot of you more prominent prospectors out there who gold pan a lot or have many different pans, and any prospector will accumulate a lot of different gold pans. Okay, but this is more geared for the new guy. I want to say that panning and gold panning, it starts and ends with a gold pan. What do I mean by that? It doesn't matter if you're running a sluice or a high banker or a dredge or a multi-million-dollar operation up in the Klondike in your Tony Beats or Parker Schnabel. It starts and ends with a gold pan. Even those guys with multi-million-dollar operations still use a modern-day traditional gold pan to test pan, carry material with, clean out in. It's the most used gold extracting device that we have. Shovels count too, but I'm talking straight getting the gold. It's with a gold pan, okay? It's the most used, underrated device, piece of equipment that we have as prospectors and as miners. But what I wanted to do, and kind of breaking that down even further, this is to the new guy, is panning and the art of panning. And you know, we're all panning in the creek. You see tons of videos out there of guys that explain that. And there's great panning how-to pan videos. Definitely search the YouTube. A lot of great videos on how to pan. But what I want to explain to you is that a lot of those videos don't go into the detail that I'm about to give you, and some tips and tricks that I'm going to give you in there. Gold panning is a feel thing, and what feels comfortable to me and what I can utilize and use may not be comfortable to you. So I suggest, if you have the possibility, to go to a prospecting shop and pick up different pans, okay? And what feels good in your hand? One-handed, two-handed? Are the walls more steep? Are they more shallow? Big pan, small pan? And anybody who is brand new to prospecting, I'll always tell them to start out with something like a 10-inch or a 14-inch pan, okay? What a pan feels like empty in your hands will feel a lot different when this is full of wet, heavy material. And especially in one hand, it's gonna, your fingers, your joints, your wrist, your forearms, you know, you're gonna have Popeye forearms. You're gonna feel that at the end of the day or throughout the day, panning. Okay, so a great big production pan, while a lot of guys, including myself, use a production pan, isn't really a great pan for test panning or general panning or starting out panning. Okay, I wouldn't fill Garrett Super Sluice full of wet, heavy material, which is, this is a production pan. I wouldn't fill this full of wet, heavy material, 2.5 shovelfuls, and hand it to a 10-year-old kid and say, here, go pan this out correctly. He's not going to be able to handle that, or she. There may be people with physical limitations who can't handle that much material in that big of a pan. Smaller pans work better to start with. I mean, you can always graduate up. And pans, they're $8 to $10, all the way up to about $20, depending. But always start out with something small if you can, okay? And then work your way up as you graduate through. You don't necessarily need a classifier. I know a lot of people recommend them. They are recommended. And if you do happen to want a classifier, I prefer the wire mesh classifiers over the plastic bottom ones. 1/4 inch to 3/8. Prefer 3/8 if you could find a 3/8 mesh. If you can't, 1/4 inch. That's what I run. I think 1/2 inch and bigger is just too big, just for panning circumstances. But you know, again, it's something you can play with, but you don't need a classifier. You could fill this full, a shovel full of material in here, shake it, and I'm going to show this later on in the video. Shake it, get the lights and the big stuff to rise to the top. We'll scrape that off, and we'll get down. And we'll pan a full pan, a shovel full in a pan together on this video without a classifier or anything, okay? But definitely think about a smaller pan before graduating into something bigger like a production pan. There's a lot of different pans out there, guys, and there's different pans for different purposes, okay? There's cleanup pans, there's production pans, there's test pans, there's your general all-arounder, which I would consider this 14-inch Keen Super Pan a general all-arounder. But yeah, we're gonna break into all of those, but definitely start out with something smaller. The pro tip that I will give you, and this is a good pro tip, any piece of equipment we as modern day prospectors and miners buy or acquire, anything that's brand new, okay, that isn't used, anything brand new. It doesn't matter if it's a gold pan, a treasure scoop, a snuffer bottle, sluice matting, a sluice, a high banker, it doesn't matter what it is. Always wash it with Dawn dish soap and warm water. Scrub it out really well, because there's machining oils on metal parts, there's releasing oils and agents on plastic parts that are not, these aren't cleaned off free from oils when you get them. And oil and gold and water doesn't mix, okay? It makes for a bad time. Pro tip, always wash brand new gear with warm, soapy water using Dawn dish soap to get the oils off of your equipment, okay? And that's everything, okay? Pro tip, trust me on that. The second thing you're gonna wanna do with your brand new pan, and this one of course is well used, you can see all the surface in there, but a brand new pan is not gonna have this. It's gonna be very smooth, brand shiny new. You wanna take a handful after you've washed it, you wanna take a handful of like wet dirt, fine dirt, and you wanna rub it all in the inside of your pan to give it some surface. Give it light scratches, haze it up really well. You're not trying to take off material, you're not trying to grind gouges into it. You simply want to haze it up to give it a lot of scratches in it. And that gives the pan surface, so when you're panning, your gold isn't sliding around on the bottom and you're trying to pan back and it's not sliding down, okay? It's giving the fine gold surface to hang on to. If you want to pre-game that, you could take like some Scotch-Brite pad, and do it inside the house and wash it and all of that to give you some surface to start out with if you don't want to do it in the field. But definitely give your pan some surface to start out with. As you use it, as this one's, you can see how used this one is. It's a lot of scratches. You can see all of this on the sides from using a classifier. It'll start to get surface. And eventually you'll wear these out and you'll have to buy new ones. But again, you're $8 to $20 depending on style of pan you get. Okay? Always wash out all new gear, especially pans, but all new gear, wash, warm soapy water, Dawn dish detergent. Brand new pans, season them. The old timers used to take the steel pans, get them hot until they were blue, put them out in the rain until they rusted up, the metal steel pans, and that's what gave them surface. Today's traditional modern pan is plastic, so we have to give them surface, okay? Good pro tip, good to remember. Now, if you do want to carry a classifier and buy one, by all means do so. But again, like I said, before you buy a kit or go out, run out and order a pan that you see everybody using on YouTube, if you can get your hands on a pan and get the feel of it in a store, great. Even better, find somebody who does panning that has different pans and use the different pans and figure out what works better for you, okay? But that's your typical standard traditional gold pan. The next step in that line up is going to be, and I have two of the Keens, of course my classifier. The next step into that line, and this is what all of the more renowned YouTube prospectors tell everybody to run out and get. And I disagree with that because this is really a production pan, and this is a Garrett Super Sluice gold pan. It's a production pan because it's 15 inches wide. It holds a lot of material. It's heavy, and you know, stratifying it, getting the material suspended in the water to drop out the heavies, bring out the lights. This will wear you out, okay? And trying to pan with this pan all day full of material will wear you out. Now, if you're young and you work out and all of those things, great, but not everybody who prospects is like that. And there, like I said, there may be people with physical limitations who may not be able to handle a pan like this full of material. Hanging this on your hand, panning it full of heavy wet material is putting a lot of pressure on your wrists, your joints, your forearms. It's putting a lot of pressure on that. And to do that all day, it will wear on you. You better eat your Wheaties if you're going to try to run one of these all day. For a production pan, it's perfect. I like it for that reason. There are alternatives to production pans if you can't run something like this, and that's when I'm going to get into the Pyramid Pro pan. But it's a great pan, great company. I'm not knocking anybody's product. It's just, it's different. And this, like I said, I mean, I like it for cleaning out in. I like it to use as a, put water in here, take my smaller gold claw and use it for fine detail cleaning. Has many different purposes. It chips a little bit, so you have to be careful at the bottom. This is the heavier duty one. It doesn't flex. But yeah, it's a great pan for what it is. It's a production pan, those guys. So you see the YouTubers out there using these all the time, and I give them credit. They, you know, they're used to using one and they pan a lot. If you're not used to panning, like I said, this is going to be harder for you to use than a smaller pan. Graduate to something like this. Production wise, once you get into a good area that has good gold in it, you may want to utilize a production pan like this. I prefer a Pyramid Pro pan. In this video, I'm going to show you how I utilize this. It's a lot easier on your joints, your hands. It's more buoyant. It breaks up the material. This classifies, this takes the place of a gold pan and a classifier all in one shot. So you don't need a classifier with this, and it brings it right down to the fine cons that's down at the bottom that we drain out. That's why I like a production pan more based on this. I also like the fact that you don't have to bend over so far operating this. Your hands are also out of the water which also helps. But this, you don't have to, because of the handles and the way it's designed, you're not bent over, which also puts a lot of strain on your back, your arms, so on and so forth. Energy that you save is important, because the more energy you save, the more time you could use to produce more material to eventually produce more gold, right? So, but Pyramid Pro Pan, awesome piece of equipment if used correctly. I'm going to say this probably a few times during the video, but most of the people that I see that use one of these on YouTube use it wrong. The only two people I've ever seen use one of these correctly are Dennis Katz, the man who invented this, and Kevin Bell also knows how to operate one of these properly. But in a place where you're panning only and you need to really process a lot of material fast as a sluice, and even some cases, guys, I'm not kidding, even some cases, this can actually outperform a sluice. Because with a sluice, you have to classify before running into a sluice. You don't have to, but you should, right? Everybody knows that. Anybody you ever see run a sluice, they're always classifying the material before running it through a river sluice. You don't have to classify with a high banker, obviously, but with a sluice, you have to classify. Well, if you don't have to classify with this. So by the time you classify and run it through a sluice, you could run several shovelfuls in this. And when you run this down, you don't have to clean it out every time. You can just keep adding material into it until you get the whole bottom full of just nothing but super cons. Okay, not concentrates, but super cons, right? So, neat piece of equipment if used properly. And everything that I'm showing you can be used incorrectly. And I know there are big YouTubers out there who have used this product who went on their video to tell the audience that they watched the videos, learned how to use it, but they're not showing you properly, because that's a bias to me, and I think that's wrong, and it's wrong to the people who invent stuff like this, okay? There's technologies in our hobby or industry that I feel can help us if we utilize it and keep an open mind on that. Some people don't like change, I get that. Gold Claw, another great pan. I use this a lot too. You guys see me always using my Gold Claw. This is the standard Gold Claw. It's different, as you can see, than a traditional round pan. It's used completely different. It's a great pan for what it is. I wish it was bigger. It doesn't hold a full shovel full of material. You don't need a classifier with it. You can shake it up just like you can any other pan. But you pan with it completely different. It needs to be under the water to operate it. You can look up videos on it. You see me use it. But you only see me really use this as either I'm test panning and I'm just panning fast and I don't care if I lose gold. I'm just doing a real quick check because it's super fast to pan with this. It's easy to carry. It's light. It's packable. The profile is awesome. If you're limited on mobility, it's a great pan to work with. If you don't have the dexterity or maybe you have a physical limitation that you can't use a regular size pan, this is a great option. For kids, there's even the smaller option of this, which is awesome. But it does really well. My one thing that I will say about it that I don't like about it, other than the size of it, for me, I wish it held a full shovel of material, but that's fine. They do make a production pan of this that's big. Okay, I'm aware of that. But the one thing that I find limiting to the Gold Claw is that when you're working this properly, any kind of moving water disrupts how this works because of the way this has to be done underneath the surface of the water. I find that any kind of moving water can disrupt this. So you always see me using this like in the clean out tub that I use when I'm doing clean outs and whatnot, because I can control it and there's no moving water in there. But I use it I still use it even with those limitations. But yeah, anyway, Gold Claw. Another pan, Maverick Pro pan. Again, another awesome product by Dennis Katz, the Foskler, fosklers.com. I like the profile, okay? I like the way it feels. I like the way it floats in the water forward. So, you know, it's just, it feels better in my hands, panning back. And I like that it doesn't swirl around. Round pans, when you're back panning, you're getting that swirl motion from the roundness of the pan, where this is square. So it's straight back, straight up, straight down, right? I find it better to back pan off of here. There's some surface on the back of this. It's called a finishing pan. You can finish with it. There's better finishing pans. Falcon pan happens to be one of my favorites. But I do like this pan, packability, how it feels in my hands, the way it works, the way it pans. I like it. I like it a lot. I almost prefer this over a traditional pan, but to me, this is more of a cleaning. If I have concentrates, this is what I use. I wouldn't just throw a shovel full in here and stratify it and try to classify it that way. I would only use this with classified material or concentrates, right? These two go together very well. That's why I have this. The other thing I wanted to bring to note, and this is another pro tip, guys, is that, make sure you get this in video, the angle of your wall of your pan dictates when you bring it down into the water to start panning and using those riffles. You don't want it too steep, you don't want it too shallow. The angle of the pan dictates where that angle is at, in case you guys didn't know that. Some pans that have steeper walls are more straight up and down, some are shallower, but that angle of the riffles, that is your angle of using them. It's there, right? Not here, not there, it's there, okay? And every pan is a little different, but just a pro tip on that. And, you know, again, same thing with this one. The angle of that is where it's utilized, right? Same thing with this. The angle of this is where it's utilized. Your riffles are at their utmost optimal level, being at that angle, okay? Just something to think about, guys. But anyway, so now that we've got kind of the pans out of the way, there's finishing pans, there's production pans, there's your standard all-arounder pans. I just wanted to clear the air on a lot of that. There's some tricks and tips and things that I'm going to use while we're doing this video when we get out into the field. I just wanted to start the video off here before we get out there, because once we get out there, there's some different things and techniques that I'm going to show you too that might be valuable to some of you guys. But anyway, let's head out there and I'll meet you guys out there.